Hey y'all, it's your legal bestie, Attorney Symone, and my apologies for taking so long to get started. I'm in the midst of moving, so that's why I'm not even wearing proper clothes. But I was like, we got to cover this today, y'all. Get in here. Let us know where you're watching from. All right, today we are doing the Diddy update. I have no idea why that banner is up. Hold on, let me get that banner off. There we go. We want that banner gone. So let me know in the chat where you're watching. Also, make sure you go to my website. You can go to my website, SimoneRedwine.com. There you will see that I have a webinar coming up Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central. Let me go to Simone. Here we go. At 7 p.m. Central. That is on, if you've ever considered going to law school. So it's law school for grown-ups, applying everything you need to know. It's free. It's going to be 1 hour. You can go to SimoneRedwine.com to sign up there. Go ahead and just share that screen. And let's just start from the beginning. So here we go. You can sign up there. There you go. You got it. Boom. Okay, we're going to pull that down. Also, you can go there, of course, to schedule a consultation with me anywhere in the nation. It starts at $159 for 30 minutes. Or to get my ebook, Background Checks 101, How to Find Out Who the Heck You're Really Dealing With. It's an ebook. It is digitally delivered immediately, and it will take you step by step on how to do a background check on the person of your choice without them finding out. All right, y'all. So day one of the Diddy trial was today, and it did not disappoint, okay? It did not disappoint. So it started, they finalized the jury pool this morning. Yeah, that's Diddy. That's what he looks like now from, the court stenographer who, let me see. Simone, edit your banner. Yep, thank you, guys. So they started at the beginning with finalizing jury selection. So jury selection started last Monday, and the jury, basically they did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they paused. They had no Thursday. Friday, the judge became concerned because on Friday, he received a letter from one of the jurors saying they don't want to be on the jury, that they got too much going on, and nope, it's going to disrupt their life. And they had another issue with another juror who that juror was suing the state of New York and did not disclose it. So they felt like as in the prosecution, felt like, hey, if he can't follow instructions, he shouldn't be on the jury. With those two people being eliminated from the pool of 45, the judge was nervous that they wouldn't be able to ultimately get to 18, which is what they need. 12 original, 6 alternates, but they got there today. Let's talk about the jury makeup. Also, how was the coverage? He's probably really tired. How was his coverage? I liked his coverage from last week. If he waited in line a long time, he might be tired. But, okay, the jury makeup, 8 men, 4 women. I don't have the races. I looked high and low for the races. And I was kind of annoyed that people weren't discussing the race mix up or the race of that. If you know the racial combo, let me know if you've seen some reliable source that's talking about that. But even one of the reporters that I like to follow, she's on Law and Trial or Law and Crime. Elizabeth is her name, a Black journalist. Love her. She was there, and she just disclosed the number of men versus women. She said where she was located, it was difficult to see. And sometimes, you, especially in New York, you can't necessarily see and be like, okay, that person's Black or that person's Hispanic, what have you. But let me know. Yeah, Make It Make Sense was there too. I talked to him today, love him to pieces, but I don't think that he was certain about the races either. All right, so, okay, Pearls of Wisdom is saying 5 Blacks, 2 Hispanics, 1 Asian, and 4. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I talked to Make It Make Sense today. He's doing good. Because I told him some tea that I had found out. And what I love about him, he's a super ethical blogger. I found out some tea, and he was like, can I say that? And I was like, let me say it first. So we're going to get this tea today. So we get so it says the makeup is, and I'm so sorry. If you need to put this up here, please do. We got it. 5 Blacks, 2 Hispanics, 1 Asian, 4 whites. Now, it's also 8 men, 4 women. If you listen to me break this down before, generally, I would have thought early in my career as a baby lawyer, I would have thought, oh yeah, you want to get majority of men on a jury for this kind of offense, for S assault. No, ma'am, no, sir. No, you don't. You actually want more women. So I was surprised to see that it was Diddy's side that wanted more men on there. I was surprised. Here's why. Women they scrupulize other women's versions of what happened much more critically than men do. I don't know what it is, but even a mentor of mine that does criminal law, he was I read a book by a guy who was a former Brooklyn public defender. And he says it all the time. He says, if you are having a trial and it's for S assault, if you represent the defendant, you actually want a bunch of women on there. Someone said, that's because women hate each other. I don't know about that. But because women think about, well, what would we do in the situation? And if what that person has done isn't consistent with what we believe a rational, reasonable woman would have done, a fearful woman, so forth, then we're like, I don't believe it. So for example, for me, when I watched the Jonathan Majors, the clip of old girl, Grace Jabari, chasing him down the street after he allegedly assaulted her and attacked her. And she chases him down the street for 3 blocks. I said, oh, not guilty. Where's my gavel? Where? Got my gavel in my grocery bag, in my Walmart bag. Not guilty. Because I have never in my career of ever, in my lifetime of being a woman, anytime I've ever been scared or fearful of a man, my response at night, at midnight, has not been, now I'm going to chase him down the street while he runs bloody murder. He runs like Usain Bolt away from me. No. So anyway, my point is, it'll be interesting to see how it works. Now, I could see men generally thinking, oh, you'd want more men, but it is actually for this. I'm not talking about for other types of crimes. Specifically, when it comes to S assault, women are very, I won't say hypercritical, but we look at every little action, every piece of evidence, and we're less likely to find someone guilty of S assault than men. Who freaking knew? Yeah, okay, so Good Girl says, I don't understand how anyone, man, woman, can refute the fact that she was a battered woman. So we've got the jury makeup. So then they've begun. Now, also with the jury, it's working class people. Some people are from New York. Others are from Westchester County. Now, in order to be eligible to be a juror, you must be a voter, a registered voter, and you must live within the boroughs that are covered by the Southern District of New York. That includes Westchester, Manhattan, the Bronx, and like some little Richland County and some hoity-toity areas. We've got there's a scientist on the jury. There's a massage therapist. There's a woman that works at a deli. I think she's going to be good. She's like 30-year-old. She works at a deli in the Bronx. There's also someone, an older gentleman in his 70s who retired from finance. That means that person's going to be very analytical. Interestingly, only 4 of the jurors stated that they were into hip hop and they followed hip hop music. I don't know if that's 4 of the 12 or 4 of the 16, because there's 12. And then there are 6 alternates. Of the alternates, I believe it is 4 men. Of the 6, 4 men, 2 women. Again, they're leaning heavy on men. You better be careful. They say it's just something about men not wanting their conscience to have on it that they allowed a woman to be R-worded and didn't protect her, which kind of makes sense. Men generally, whether they know you're not, they generally want to be known, even if they're an a-hole, want to be known as a protector. So it would make sense that when they're being on a jury, they don't want to leave. If that woman was truly a victim, leave and know that they let this woman both, get R-worded and didn't protect her when they had a chance to serve on the jury. So just think that. Yes. So the charges here, he has a plethora of charges. He's got S trafficking. He's got transportation for S trafficking. He's got RICO, and that's kind of the gist of the charges. But yes, there are RICO. Many people have asked the question, how are you going to have RICO charges, which is racketeering, without any co-defendants? without any co-defendants. Here's how. And I kind of broke it down yesterday. He's got a bunch of them. But he's got a bunch of coworkers, right? Or employees rather, that have worked with him that allegedly helped to execute all of this. But the reason why there's no co-defendants is because those are all people that the prosecution wants to use as witnesses. They cannot get to Diddy. Let me give you an analogy. Whenever I have a medical, like if someone would call my office and say, hey, I have a medical malpractice case. Or actually, I had one of my first $1 million cases. The victim said, hey, I want to sue the school district where my daughter was a student there and died because of the negligence of a teacher. And I got the information. And one thing I realized is in our state, Texas, school districts are immune. So even if the school district was liable, we couldn't get a dime. But I looked into it and I was like, it's actually not the school district. It was a device the school district used on your child when they were sick and that killed the child. Let's go after that company, not the school district. And they said, well, I want to sue them both. I said, I totally understand. Under regular circumstances, we would do that. But here's the thing. We can't nail the device company and take all of their money and all of their millions without the help of the school. We need the teachers to say, hey, I used the device according to their instructions. I did what they said. I followed all the rules. Here in Diddy's case, you can't get to Diddy, even as the head of the RICO organization, without former staff members saying, he instructed me, and here's what I did. So they're going to have to offer immunities. And when you offer immunity, you got to get that testimony first. I've seen situations where it goes both ways, where they allow one person to testify, someone to testify, and they have their trial, and that person signs an immunity deal to help get to whoever the state really wants to get to. And then they get on the stand and they play dumb and they get amnesia. Happens all the time. So in order to prevent that, you go after Diddy first, because they're able to hang over Diddy's head the threat that, oh, if you don't testify honestly, you're going to be a co-conspirator. Otherwise, we can give you immunity. So that's kind of the challenge there. Hit that like button. Is it wise to question witnesses that don't want to be involved? Hell no. So I think what you're talking about is likely Gina. Let me know in the chat. Y'all hit that like, hit that subscribe. RICO charges is just too far a stretch and unrealistic. I'm going to go back to Olga's question in one moment, but I want you to be clear on, pursuant to the opening, the themes. It's all about a theme, because the truth about law is it's about storytelling. That's why I like it. If you've ever watched my storytelling series, I'm a good storyteller, they say. At the end of the day, when it comes to law, whoever tells the better story wins. That's all it is. Whoever tells the more reasonable story wins. They win every time. So here, the theme that the prosecution is using is Diddy was the head honcho. He was so powerful. He had this power and he yielded it for over 20 years. He yielded it against women against their will to get sexual gratification out of ego. He also threatened people. He was just, it's almost like he's the Black Harvey Weinstein. It was that Diddy was beyond the rules, the regulations. He had not the cops, but he had security in his pocket where he could make evidence go away. He could blow people's cars up. He could do whatever. And that is why this RICO criminal enterprise must stop. Diddy's side, on the other side said, we're just some freaks. We are consensual freaks. And these people that are going to testify against me, these women specifically, it was either consensual or they're bitter, because one of the others, I think it's going to be victim 3 or so forth. They're alleging that she was jealous because he told her, look, we can mess around, but I'm not going to be monogamous. And she got jealous of other women. This is really important. Diddy's team, Terry Garagos, the woman, in her opening, she referenced Gina. Now, there's a rule. You don't reference anybody or anything in your opening unless you're 100% sure that they will attend. Gina, victim number 3, is the person where everybody's like, where is she? And we don't know if she's coming. As in the prosecution. Correction. The prosecution was not sure as of, what was it, yesterday or Friday? They weren't sure. Specifically, the prosecution said, victim 3, they're having trouble getting in touch with her and her lawyer. That the lawyer is going through personal issues and they're having difficulty there. It's also alleged that victim 3 was never voluntarily going to comply. Victim 3 was in a relationship with him. Victim 3, if you watch the Tasha K interview, she talked about the abuse. She talked about being pregnant by Diddy. Diddy said, get rid of the kid. She refused. So he beat her so bad she lost it, according to her on this interview. Well, on Diddy's side, they're saying she was a disgruntled woman who was cheated on and basically wanted revenge. Not revenge, but was treated on. And now if she testifies, they're actually saying when she testifies that what you'll see is that she loved him. She thought she was in an exclusive relationship with him. She continued to ask him back. She was jealous. And it's that Gina is jealous of the other women, inclusive of Cassie. And with Cassie, the allegation is it was consensual and that Cassie is not a victim because Cassie sometimes was the aggressor. Specifically in the opening, Diddy's lawyer alleged that the hallway hotel beatdown video we saw was because Diddy took her cell phone. No. That was because she saw text messages in Diddy's phone of him messing with another woman. And she tried to take his phone and he got mad and he went off. I want you to process this. Defense's allegation is that Cassie stole Diddy's phone, tried to take his phone, jealous because she saw him messaging with another woman, and that then they got into it, that she started it. They get into a fight, and then we see the video as a result of her being the aggressor. She still ended up with a purple eye, according to the witness. There were multiple witnesses on the stand today, but there was a security guard from the hotel who was aware of the video footage. He actually, wait a minute, y'all. He acknowledged, the security guard, now he's a police officer, back then he was a security guard. He acknowledged that, first of all, he saw it because he was working the shift and then he received a call, but he also video recorded the footage of the fight and showed it to his wife. He showed it to his wife. He also acknowledged he was paid. There was acknowledgement that there was payment, but he showed it to, he said, I showed it. He said, they asked him, did you show that footage to anyone? He said, yeah, I showed it to my wife. It was kind of like chuckles, like, yeah, who else did you show it to? Shoot, let me tell you this. Let me be clear on the law, because some people have asked. Even though it was either him or his company that he worked for, was paid $100,000 for that footage to make it go away. If he, in fact, didn't destroy the footage, he was supposed to destroy it and never show it to anyone. Guess what happens if he violates that $100,000 agreement with Diddy? Guess what happens? If Diddy sued him for $20 million because it leaked and it ruined Diddy's reputation, Diddy wouldn't get a motherfucking thing. Nothing. Nada. The judge would throw it out. Dismissed. Case dismissed. Hit that like button, y'all, and hit the subscribe, please. Case dismissed. The reason why, it's an illegal contract. The contract, I'm going to give you $100,000 to delete the video and make sure no one ever sees the light of day. It's an illegal contract because you are tampering with evidence. You are paying someone to destroy evidence. So guess what, Mr. Mann? What I would have did, Mr. Security Guard, I would have got my little $100,000, showed my wife, showed it, put it on the big screen at the family reunion, and then took my little tail down to TMZ and said, TMZ, I want $2 million. I want $5 million. I want whatever. Hire a lawyer, whoever. and give it to a news entity. Get your 10 million. And the news entity is going to get it to the police because police watch TV. They're going to see it on the TV screen. Then you haven't tampered with that nary evidence because you got the evidence and you brought it to the media, which is kin to bringing it to the authorities. Then everybody gets paid. Get them kids out that trailer. Get them out the trailer. Hit that like button. These are good questions. Let me see your question. Yes, it's Rose. You got it. It's because it's unclean hands. It's the same premise applies here, where it's like you buy drugs from a drug dealer and they sell you soap instead of crack. You get mad and you try to sue them. It's unclean hand. You weren't supposed to buy drugs. Diddy wasn't supposed to buy evidence of him committing a crime. It's because a crime was being committed. Now, it'd be different if he was just picking his nose, digging in his booty. I don't know, maybe he pooped on himself. That's different. Because a crime was committed, a contract to destroy evidence of a crime is not a valid contract. That's all. Is it because NDAs and contracts don't count? Yes, correct. They don't count if a crime is involved. So that was covered. Yes, it absolutely does. So the relevance in part of paying the $100K to get this evidence destroyed, it absolutely supports. This is an element to prove RICO of the criminal enterprise, because a criminal enterprise employs other people to do your dirty work. So what they're showing is that a member of Diddy's team actually showed up with a brown paper bag, y'all, like Aldi grocery store, an Aldi grocery store bag with $100,000 in it, and gave it to him. Y'all, that's also probably tax fraud and something else, but whatever. But yes, that is the other component of the evidence of the payment, is that can enforce an illegal act. That's right. All right. Thank you, Rico. All right. So then, so we had that witness on the stand. He talked about seeing Cassie with a purple eye. He also said that when he looked into the room, there was another man in there. The man was sitting there, and cross-examination, Diddy's defense basically tried to establish that he shouldn't be trustworthy because what he's saying now on the stand doesn't comport with the incident report that he filed back when it happened a decade ago. It could be that it's dishonest. So one of the things, for example, is when he told the story on the stand, he said, Cassie said, I just want to leave, or something like that. I want to leave. And Diddy say, you ain't going nowhere. But in the report, defense says he says the opposite, that Cassie says, I want to leave. And he's like, take your ass on, like leave then. And then she did. Both things could be true, because she could have said, I want to leave. And he said, you're not going anywhere. And then she continued to say it. And he was like, fine, get your ass, take your ass on. If you've ever dealt with a man who you were arguing with him and you was like, I'm leaving, he'll tell you that, take your ass on. Especially in front of other people. Whereas between the two of you, you ain't going nowhere. You ain't doing shit. You better sit there and do. So they basically tried to imply that this gentleman couldn't be trusted. Again, he was simply a security guard back then. So it was an incident report. It was not a police report. So it doesn't have the same level of necessarily specificity. Also, when you're dealing with incident reports for security guard roles and stuff like that, I used to defend Joe's Crab Shack and frivolous slip and falls and stuff at their restaurants. And when you train employees that really, when they do an incident report, it's to protect the company. It's to minimize any level of responsibility that the business will have towards whatever foolishness just occurred. So in his report, it makes sense that he didn't include there was a man sitting on the bed. That man sitting on the bed ain't got nothing to do with him protecting his job. So did they show the whole tape? Yes. The tape was shown and it was unedited. Y'all, there's only 200 likes, but there's over 700 watching. Hit that like and subscribe. They showed the tape and it was revealed that the full tape that was shown was noticeably different than the CNN tape. The CNN tape was sped up. The tape seen in the courtroom was slower. That doesn't necessarily, so the defense can absolutely use that to their benefit, because the defense, So the defense can argue, hey, ignore what you saw, what you thought you saw before, because this is the true video. And as you can see, it's distinctly different from what you saw before. So don't give that any credence. Give us a clear slate, a clean state, and evaluate what you're seeing now. Did they? Yeah, they showed the whole tape. It said, could she try to leave later? She did leave later. Ultimately, a black car did show up. So ultimately, she went down the hallway, went down in the elevator. Basically, he mediated it. The security guard mediated when she was like, I want to leave, blah, 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 blah. The issue was the defense in their opening, when they said Cassie stole his phone, that was incorrect. According to this witness, it was the opposite. He had Cassie's phone. And the security guard said, ma'am, you guys need to separate. You need to be. And she said, well, I want to leave, but he's got my phone. I want my phone and I want my bag. She said, I want my phone and I want my bag. And he said basically, I ain't giving you shit. I'm not giving you your stuff. And so what was interesting is if that's incorrect, that's a big faux pas for the defense. Now, what I'm going to assume is right now we're just on the prosecution side, that the prosecution's version is Diddy stole Cassie's phone. She wanted it back. So all that happened and she wanted to leave. But when the security guard said, you guys need to separate. What do you need to do? Leave. She was like, I want to leave, but I want my phone. I want my stuff. That was the difference. Now, on the defense side, they may try to establish that was the opposite, that she was the aggressor. She took from him. And they did cross-examine him. No, Cassie didn't take his phone. Correct. It's either lying or, like I said, once we get to the defense. So remember, prosecution gives their whole side, and then all the defense gets to do is cross-examine prosecution's witnesses. But perhaps on the defense's side, they're going to call someone, maybe the man that was sitting there in the room while they were fighting. And maybe that man is going to tell a version that, no, it was the opposite. Cassie took his phone, started the fight because he was cheating. La-di-da-di-da. It says footage would have been shown the other man in the hotel room coming in and out of the room. I'm sure he was also other. What I wasn't clear about is what was the point? Like, what are y'all trying to get at with regards to the other man sitting there on the bed in the room? Now, from the prosecution standpoint, I would argue that it was an even more frightening situation and even more in support of RICO, because it says this man, whoever this other third party man was in the room and let Diddy beat this girl like this, black and blue, and didn't do nothing to stop it. Or even if he could stop it, he didn't. She still ended up purple. They said her eye was purple. That just goes to show the level of the lack of control with the entity. So yeah, we have to wait and see. They're going to claim the whole video was AI. Probably. So, but here's something I want you to think about when you think about RICO. I think a clever angle that it appears the defense is going to use is this. Defense says, hey, Diddy paid all these S workers. That, for the defense, that is, for me, I feel like that's one of their strongest arguments. Because when you think of S trafficking, people don't get paid for that. You don't get paid for that. It's against your will, number one. And number two, an element of it is they force you to do this work and then they steal your money, like prostitution, right? So I feel, because if someone is being paid for something, then it's not coercion. It can be an illegal sexual transaction. That's different. Prostitution is illegal. But it doesn't give the level of S trafficking. If you tell me you paid them and you paid them good money every time. So they're going to show that, they're going to say the video is AI. Yep, we definitely have to wait. Men don't have sympathy for a woman who's been SA'd. It varies. It really varies. So I think for the defense, the more they hang on, every time an S worker comes on, focus on how much money that person made. Focus on the fact that they were hired through an agency. focus on the fact that they wanted to be in Diddy's presence because they knew how powerful he is. He had Sean John, how his access, his modeling, this, that, and the third could impact, change, and improve their life. I think that is going to be helpful. Wouldn't it still be trafficking? No, trafficking is against someone's will. Trafficking is where you're using coercion, or, for example, trafficking would be if you say, it could also be if you say, hey, you're signed to my label, and unless you perform this act, I'm not releasing your video, or I'm not releasing your album. That actually is trafficking because it's coercion. You are forcing them to do this thing they didn't otherwise want to do by withholding a benefit, a monetary benefit. So I say that to say, people have asked, do I think he's going to get off? I don't necessarily think at this point, it's early, that he's going to get off, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are certain counts where he's found not guilty and others where he is found guilty. So I think, for example, a charge like prostitution is way easier. We got evidence of that. Yeah. We got evidence of that. So that's not the issue, but it's also but as far as trafficking, you have to have coercion. You have to have a level of no consent. Okay, hold on. So specifically, because remember, he's charged with leading a criminal enterprise that engaged in various crimes like trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. So just going through those quickly. For the trafficking, I think the more the defense focuses on, but he paid these people, then it's not that. It's you're transporting prostitutes. He's not actually being charged with simple prostitution. It's trafficking, forced labor. Forced labor is you better do this, or it can literally be you better do this or I won't release your album. That could be Aubrey O'Day. It was Cassie. It was one of the things they referenced with Cassie, specifically in opening. They said he threatened to not release her album if she didn't perform an acts. He's also charged with kidnapping. We know what that is. Arson, bribery, and then the obstruction of justice is when he knew there was a chance charges were coming and he starts messing with witnesses. Obstruction of justice is also how he paid that man $100,000 to make that video go away. That's obstruction. So that's what goes into the RICO. So I just wanted to be clear. He's not charged with prostitution. I think that would have been an easy one, but I think that was also clever of the prosecution. Don't charge him with prostitution because a jury could feel comfortable. A jury may feel like, I don't want him to walk away not guilty of everything. I want to at least find him guilty. Like jurors think like that. I want him, everything that these people have been through, this terrible video that we saw, he should be found guilty of something. Oh, I know, we'll do prostitution and, he'll be out with time served because he's been sitting there through bail. So that's what I mean with respect to that. The forced labor, arson, bribery, obstruction. Let me see your question. Did he actually get a Mann Act charge? I don't know what that is. Has she released more than one album? Nope, just that one. Forced labor all day. And when she tried to, I think he could argue any of the girls that he had sex with in the group that were like part of the band or part of Danity Kane, all of them could argue forced labor. What would be the difference in sentencing with trafficking versus prostitution? Oh, prostitution. First of all, prostitution is rarely a federal thing. But if it's transporting prostitutes state lines, he'd be facing time served versus trafficking could be up to life. Yeah, he's facing life currently. And when she tried to leave, he gripped, yep, that is the allegation. Did he actually get a man charge? I wish I knew what that meant. Trafficking is more horrific and demonic of a charge. Yeah, I think he found a loophole to get charged for solicitation. He paid them to perform. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was the other thing. In the opening, his attorneys kept referencing it as paying porn stars. Brilliant. I think it's a legal strategy. That was a brilliant way to frame it. Yeah. For those that are going to be like little haters in the chat, you'd be like, why would you be happy about that? I'm talking legally. Okay. I'm a law professor. I'm an attorney. Legally, that is a creative strategy to associate it with porn. Why? Because everybody look at some porn at some point in their life. Everybody look at porn. Half that jury got some porn in their house, look at porn in themselves. And they are not, if you frame it as porn, nobody wants to send nobody to prison for life for looking at some porn and hiring porn stars. So actually, they had oh gosh, y'all, this part. They had an S worker take the stand. Now, I'll tell you, this is tea. I had an S worker, more than one actually, reach out to me within the last year who wanted representation because they were getting contacted by the prosecutors in this case. And they were getting subpoenaed to show up at the grand jury, and they were terrified. I won't say if it's the same one that's testifying or not. That's his business to tell. However, hold on. Pearls of Wisdom said law is exciting. Thank you so much. Don't forget Wednesdays, go to my website, SimoneRedwine.com. This Wednesday night, I have a session. If you've ever considered law school for grownups, basically it's all going to break down what you should consider and ways to approach going to law school as a grownup, because I don't want anyone to live with regret. And I actually think grownups make better law students. That's my opinion. All right. Y'all, we don't even have 300 likes. Please hit that like button. Please. So let me say this. All right. So the S worker took a stand. Now the S worker that asked me to represent them, part of my challenge was, number one, I knew I wanted to talk about it here. Number two, they couldn't afford an attorney. So I knew that I could pair them with someone who might be willing to take it on contingency, because the problem is there's a lot of things, like when you're that type of attorney, you need to be there with your client when they're at the grand jury so that you can protect them. Then when they're getting prepped by prosecution, you do get prepped before you go to trial, especially if it's a federal trial. Them prosecutors don't pay. Them prosecutors will, let me shut up. Those prosecutors, they prep, they'll take you to a private place. They will fly you out of town and put you up in a hotel, perhaps with other victims. It depends on the story, the situation, and give you that one-on-one relaxing time where you just get to focus on preparing for your testimony. Feds got money, honey. They don't play. They prep their witnesses. And in this case, I was like, I can't do that for free. I'm a good Catholic girl, but you're going to have to find somebody else to do it. And so I don't know if they did, but I also was like, and you need to make sure before you talk to anybody, you get an immunity agreement, because you're a low totem pole. They will easily give you one. So today, S worker took the stand. The S worker was a big mandingo warrior. Big mandingo warrior. Now, you guys know I've talked before about, I used to have a boyfriend who was a little gay sometimes. He was like 49, 51% gay. I'm not sure. He was one of Diddy's sex workers. At least he went to at least one party. He said it was on one party, but I don't believe that. I think it was more than one. He is such a BBC. He was African, beautiful skin. He wore baby oil for no reason all the time. He was like saturated. I'm going to not say that because I don't want people to be able to Google him. Anyway, gorgeous. Anyhow, what this guy on the stand described today was very similar to what my ex described going to one of the parties. He described getting picked up by a car service. He was hired by a modeling agency, was picked up by a car service. He said, where are we going? And they said, you'll know when you get there. And it was somewhere up in, not upstate New York, but like closer to Westchester, Hamptons, that area. It was a townhouse. People had on masks, The witness described with the mask, he didn't initially know that it was Diddy, and he was instructed to have sex with Cassie. Diddy felt he wasn't lubed up enough. He needed more lube, because he likes that mandingo look. That's what he liked to see. Yeah, oh yeah, he was gay sometimes. He was gay sometimes. He was gay. He was probably gay all the time, but when he was around me, he used to pretend like he wasn't gay, my ex-boyfriend. This guy said Diddy would be sitting and pleasuring himself as he watched this guy and Cassie go at it. He would stop and chastise Cassie if he felt like they weren't giving it enough oomph, So literally, the defense is really trying to describe this as though Diddy is a porn director. He's just a porn director instructing his actors and actresses. Put a little more lube on it. He made them stop. Literally, the testimony was he made them stop and put on more lube. Guess they'd gotten a little dry. Somebody got a little ashy. Cassie can't even get ashy. She ain't got that type of complexion. But apparently he was getting a little ashy or what have you. And Diddy made him stop, put on more baby oil before they continued. And then Diddy continued pleasuring himself and so forth. That this session lasted like approximately 10 hours. 10 hours. 10 hours of baby oil and lube. They asked him something along the lines of like, was this your first time, or do you think this had happened before, something like that? And he was like, well, there was half open containers of lube all over. Brandon said, he going to hell, you sorry. Brandon said, Anika said she was forced because if she didn't, he would hit her. Jesus. Y'all, please hit the like, y'all, because that is what will make YouTube recommend it to more people. All right. Hit that like. No, seriously. So this man sat up there and he told that. So Diddy's just sitting there in the chair. Y'all, I'm going to be Diddy. I'm going to be Diddy's nasty ass. Wait, I got to take Jesus off the screen. I'm about to pretend like I'm Diddy. More drama. More drama. More baby oil. Hey, cut. More baby oil. Wait, this is the baby oil. More baby oil. Baby oil. And be like the Pope. More baby oil. More baby oil. Do it to her. More baby oil. It's like that. It's like the Pope on Palm Sunday, but with baby oil. They really are trying to make us think that Diddy is not making her do anything against her will, that all Diddy is doing is simply producing a porn in the privacy of his own home. Oh my gosh, somebody gave me $10. Oh my gosh, I just saw this. Thank you. See it? It says, hi, Symone. Why would a former SA victim join Diddy's legal team? Also, she is based in Georgia. How was she able to join his? Oh, that's a good one. All right. So we're going to pause from Diddy and his little directing. And I want to answer this question because it's a great one. So number one, she's able to join the legal team from New York for the same reason that I take cases nationally. And mind you, some people ask, what do I do? I'm primarily a auto accident and personal injury attorney, actually. Wrongful death, personal injury, serious injuries. That's what I love helping people with. I take hurt people and make them millionaires. But how you do it is she's a Georgia lawyer. As long as at least one person on the legal team is a licensed New York attorney who promises to always be in court with her whenever she is in court, whether it's talking to the judge for a hearing or otherwise, then she's able to do what's called pro hoc vice, which means for this one time, and proceed. If you heard about Tony Busby, that's what got Busby in trouble, because Busby was not licensed in the state and was supposed to submit his pro hoc vice, but he literally, in one of the cases, submitted, there was like 47 documents presented, and then a judge was like, hold on, you're not actively licensed in New York. I think he used to have one. And therefore, he got in trouble for not doing what she did. It's a very, very easy thing. And the reason it's created is so that you can have people, whoever's a defendant, the right to your freedom is the number one most protected, most cherished right in America. Therefore, they feel like you should be able to have the lawyer of your choice. And then the way to make sure that lawyer can do a great job is just that lawyer agrees to partner effectively with the New York lawyer. And then the other question was, why would she, Nicole Westmoreland, hit that like, hit that subscribe, guys. Why would Nicole Westmoreland, hey, Pearls of Wisdom, why as an SA victim would she join this case? There's a few reasons. I think that it would be for the same reason that people decide to be defense attorneys. Attorney Xavier, I believe his last name is Donaldson. He is the African-American male attorney on the team. And he has stated, he had a nice quote, I don't remember it verbatim, about when people ask him, why does he represent defendants? at the end of the day, she probably does it because she feels even if you're charged with that, at the end of the day, you should have the right, you have the right to be defended and prosecuted and go through that step, just as your victim has the right to go to court against their accuser to get justice. But also, I frequently, when I would be asked this question as well, it's also in part because as defense attorneys, we want to make sure that when this person is sentenced, that they get sentenced for what they did, not their race, not for being poor, not for being rich. She may also feel like, I don't know what she's going through, but she may feel like based on the facts as she knows them, that he has been overcharged, that this shouldn't be a RICO, that this should not be as trafficking, that if anything, because as I was listening to the opening statements, I could see how any defense attorney would feel this way. She may have felt like, hey, if anything, he should be charged with assault. Let me know in the chat. I don't think there's anyone who feels like he should not be charged with assault. We saw what he did on that video. We know he assaulted her. We know he assaulted Gina. Gina talked about it in an interview. She may feel like he's been overcharged and, again, that he should only be charged, for example, with assault. Here's the problem. Statute of limitation is gone. It's bye-bye. You can't charge him with simple assault. The only statute of limitations available to charge him with would be RICO. Would be RICO because she wasn't a minor when this started. She was 19. So none of the protections for minors apply. So I also think when people ask me, could he get off? I think one that a theme could be, you saw on here, this was assault, but this was a simple assault, perhaps even a felony assault. He has been overcharged. And that might be where the defense is going to say he was, as a black man, they overcharged him. That's actually kind of believable. It happens that they overcharged him as a black man. This should have been an assault, but all this other stuff, they trying it. In other words, they trying it. SK Simmons. Yeah. SK Simmons says, thank you so much for the super chat. Although trafficking may be hard to prove, can't the prosecution use the Mann Act for conviction or as a predicate act for RICO? Let me see what state Mann Act. Hold on. I'm not familiar with the Mann Act, so I'm going to look it up right now. Oh, the White Slave Traffic Act is a U.S. federal law that prohibits the transportation of individuals, regardless of gender, across state lines for immoral purposes. Let me share. This is the Mann Act that we're talking about. And it says specifically, the purpose, it was initially intended to combat forced prostitution and other forms of sexual exploitation across state lines. It covers the transportation of individuals in interstate commerce, penalties. It's a felony and can result in fines and other things. I'm going to go ahead and my analysis, my hypothesis, it's not even a guess, my hypothesis, although it may be hard, X may be hard to prove, can't the prosecutor use the Mann Act for a conviction or as a predicate? My guess is that the statute of limitations for the Mann Act has passed. So you got to combine it. Let's see. Mann Act. Here we go. Statute of limitations. What that say, y'all? I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do. Don't play with me. Oh, it's small. I'm going to put it bigger on the screen. What it says is that the Mann Act has a statute of limitations of 5 years. So time is up. They couldn't get Diddy if they used the Mann Act. But thank you for asking and thank you for the super chat. Thank you for also stretching my mind to think about that. Just getting here. Did they find the one witness? Oh, yes. So the one with, yes. So the witness, I referenced her before, witness number 3. Let's get to that. We're going to get back to the little sex trafficker. Hold on. Sex worker. Hold on. Let me go ahead and finish with the sex worker. So the sex worker, basically, he talked about the types of things that he was forced to do, how Diddy would force it, how Cassie was participating, but that his thoughts about basically he made them go so long. Like, ain't nobody consenting to do this for 10 hours with all you forcing me to put all this extra baby oil. I'm dry because it's time to stop. I'm dry because it's time to go to fucking sleep. Leave me alone. You know, so he spoke to that. But y'all, here's the part that broke my heart. In the opening, the prosecutor stated, Diddy would hire sex workers and force them to urinate in Cassie's in her mouth. What? And this guy spoke to that. Spoke to that. Let me get it. There it is. Let me see if you can see it on the screen. Hold on. Here we go. Here we go. It said, yeah, I'm going to get to that about the one witness. But yes, so AUSA in her opening specifically said that Diddy stomped on Cassie's face in an SUV, then made her stay in a hotel for a week, hide her injuries, and he set up freak-offs as often as once a week. She spent half of her time doing them. And that the defendant made an escort do that in her mouth. And then the escort confirmed. The escort confirmed it. Yeah. Yeah. It was disgusting. And he said, I think he said it was more than one. Hold on. Yep, it says, hold on. Specifically, here was a second exchange. So again, they talked about that in the opening. And then there was the witness, the S-trafficker male dancer who was hired. Again, male dancer, just like my gay boyfriend. Just like my gay boyfriend, okay? He's, whatever. It said, what direction did Mr. Combs give you? He was saying, you know, when Combs with Diddy. Let me make sure you see me. Hold on, the browser has lost connection. Can y'all still hear me? Make sure you can still hear me. Yeah. Yeah. It said, what direction? As in when Diddy was like sitting there stroking his thing, watching. It said, what instruction did he give you? And he said, he'd tell me to step off and step back. How many times, if any, were you told to urinate on her? The black attorney, Xavier Donaldson, said, objection, suggestive. The judge said, overruled, which means that's admissible. That's admissible. Yeah. Yeah. Cassie said she thought, that she would choke. Can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. So again, we want to believe, they want us to believe he was just a porn star director. He was paying these S workers just like you pay porn stars. He was sitting back and he was watching it as though it was a live porn. Now, we're going to talk about victim 3, and we're going to conclude with this because for me, this was some tea. Let me know if you have any other questions in the chat that I had not gotten to. All right, so victim 3 was Gina, right? We speculated that it was Gina. It has been confirmed with Gina. Do you know? So how it works is in your opening, you never discuss a witness that you are not 100% certain is going to show up to testify in a way that will support you. Why does it look like that? Here we go. In a way that will support you. Y'all, prosecution never mentioned victim 3, Gina. Prosecution never did. Never did. That's because the prosecution wasn't confident she was going to show up. But the defense did and called her by name. The defense said, you'll hear from Gina and that they alleged, I'm going to get it. Here we go. I'm going to put it on the screen. Put it back. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. The defense said, you'll see Cassie telling him to get back to the hotel room. They stay together 2 more years after the incident, talking about the hotel incident, and said, even in 2018, they're fighting to stay together. She saw a photo of Combs with Gina. He started with her in 2014. Then it says, Cassie will tell you about the jealousy of Kim Porter and then Gina. The day of the hotel hallway, jealousy was on display. Talking about the reason that the whole beatdown in the hallway had to do with jealousy. It says, violence by the elevator bank 10 years ago. You will see it later today. What Combs did is indefensible. This is Combs' lawyer saying this. Let me see. I have it later. But they referenced Gina earlier, and that Gina was a part of this. So we will have to see if the defense is going to call Gina. But here is what's being alleged. Is that Gina doesn't want to come because her attorneys are negotiating something that she's never wanted to, but that her attorneys are negotiating something. It's also being alleged that she has a new attorney, that they had stated previously. Part of the reason the prosecution was not sure she was showing up is they were saying her attorney was having personal problems and had not been responsive to the prosecutors. Well, she's got a new attorney. Here's the thing. No new attorney is going to take on your case. These cases are contingency fee cases, not hourly where you pay upfront. No contingency fee attorney is going to take your case unless there is a settlement, unless there is a civil matter to be negotiated. Gina does not have a pending lawsuit, but you don't have to have a pending lawsuit to negotiate a settlement. Y'all remember with Shannon Sharp? He offered that girl $10 million before she ever filed a lawsuit because he wanted to prevent her from filing and it becoming public. So I'm telling you, Gina doesn't have private attorney, 8-week lawsuit in New York. I don't think she lives in New York, where you have to travel to New York and be there regularly. She ain't got that money. That means there's money on the table. And I would not be surprised if her civil lawyer is over there working double, triple time. This is the allegation that her lawyer is working triple time to get her a settlement. And it's told her, hey, if you execute this settlement, you don't have to show up to court. Yep, I'm about to be ashy. My lips are ashy, y'all. My lips are ashy. Victim 3. Hey, if you execute the settlement, you don't have to show up to court. First of all, that's a motherfucking lie. That's a bold ass lie. If you're subpoenaed, you have to show. But I can see how that type of attorney, which is what I am, personal injury, civil attorney, they only get paid. Civil attorneys don't get paid for no criminal case. Civil attorney only gets paid when they win money for you. So it creates a dilemma. If the other side is saying, look, I'm going to give this girl $30 million to not show up to court, or say $30 million to settle. So how you have to say this, I'm going to give her $30 million to settle with me. And, from that, she can do what she wants. She can go to Bali. She can go to Dubai. She can go wherever she wants. There are a lot of people who, number one, Gina didn't want to be here in the first place. So if she didn't want to already be here, take that $30 million and get the hell out. However, it's still an ethical issue. If any lawyer did that, it's the biggest ethical issue because you are conspiring to literally tamper with a witness. Now, what I would tell my client is, baby, we finna get him. We finna get him because he think you stupid. We about to get this $30 million. You're going to sign on this dotted line. You're going to get this check. We're going to have the check clear. And then you're going to show up and testify. So you got to tell these people, you're not going to be there week 1. No. You got to give yourself some time to get you your coins. Get your money. Make sure it clears. Pull it out of the account. You're going to pull it out the account and you're going to put it somewhere else. And then you're going to show up and you're going to testify. And you're going to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And you can even include, oh yeah, by the way, here come with this check for $30 million 2 weeks before trial started. But that's the only thing that would make sense. You're telling me, you as in the media, TMZ, are telling me the witness and her lawyer, nobody is responding? The lawyer for Gina, whoever has been representing her, has been doing it for free. In other words, they've not gotten a dime. They did not get a retainer. Anytime Gina had to fly somewhere, anytime she had to do any of that, that lawyer fronted all of those costs and expenses. They haven't received a dime. And here's the thing. If Diddy goes to jail, you really think he's going to be out here settling civil cases? The hell he is. No, he's not. He's actually going to then go step 2 after you've been found guilty of crimes like this, is you then begin asset protection. So he's going to start hiding assets. He's going to, if he hasn't already sold his California home, he's going to take the money from the California home and the money from the current Florida home where they have 100% homestead protection. He's going to buy it even more expensive. He's going to get $100 million instead of a $50 million house, because Florida, even if you're found liable for a civil, you can have a multi-million-dollar home and nobody can force you to sell it. Unlike the game, which we talked about yesterday. If she does not show up, can they issue it? Yeah, they absolutely can. And they might. She would be a disgruntled witness. She would be a witness where they likely would have to do what's called, yes, that was exactly what OJ did. That's what OJ did. That's why OJ always lived in Florida as his homestead. He'd be in Nevada all the time, but Florida was his homestead because he had a multi-million-dollar home on the golf course and can never be sued or have to, you couldn't even put a lien against the house. Well, you could put a lien, but he couldn't be sued to do that. So it says, if she does not show up, yes, they can issue a warrant. Yes, they can issue a warrant. And when they do that, what happens then is wherever they find you, they can't leave the country to go get you. There's not, even if it's a country with extradition, they can't do that. But once you clear customs on your way back, whether it's for your granny's funeral, your kid's birthday, whatever, because she allegedly has a kid. I think she has a kid. Then they can arrest you. Or if they find you now, they arrest you. They take you to the Brooklyn Federal Detention Center that's there. And you got to stay there until the judge gives a hearing. And you go before the judge and you explain why you haven't showed up. So the challenge is going to be, I'll say this. At first, I had been saying there's no way they wouldn't call her. That's not true. Let me clarify. They wouldn't call her to be a star witness where you have to rely on her facts as the truth of basically, this is how the enterprise works, I don't think they would call her for that because she'd get up there and say, I don't recall. What you would call her for is proof of obstruction of justice. Oh. Remember, obstruction of justice is tampering with witnesses. Obstruction of justice is how the one girl, I forget her name, but the woman that used to sing with him in Dirty Money, he called her 125 times. He called her 56 times in one day before he got indicted because he found out that, what is her name? Dawn had the lawsuit and Dawn referenced her. And he called her 56 times in one day to confirm that she was going to publicly support his version of the facts and not Dawn's. And within 1 week, called 126 times to her 1 week before she was to sit down with federal authorities. Yeah, Dawn Richards. It wasn't Dawn. Kalina. Thank you. Kalina was the other girl. So victim number 3, if she's not a star witness, even if she was before, they could restructure her to say, all right, we're going to use her to help prove up obstruction of justice. Honey, what better person would be? What better person to prove tampering with witnesses than someone who just got wired millions of dollars to not show up in trial? Millions of dollars. Also someone who is there where you had to literally hold them in temp. You had to send marshals to their house to go get them or wherever they were found, bring them in, then have a hearing. That is the epitome of obstruction of justice. That's the epitome. It's the epitome. So, yeah, so I say that to say, if the prosecution is going to use her, I believe it would be to show something like the strength of Diddy's coercion and also how Diddy was over here right before trial trying to make a deal with her. Now, we all know, if you followed my channel, you're jurors, hit that just subscribe button, guys. We know if you sign a settlement agreement for a civil matter, especially in New York and California, One, you don't have to keep it quiet in New York or California. You can tell whatever you want. Cassie hasn't spoken because Cassie's goal was to save her peace for her testimony. She don't need to do no media shit. Only person she need to talk to is the judge and the jury. That's all that matters, right? So Cassie could have said whatever she wanted. Some people are like, she signed an NDA. No, she didn't. Under New York law, under California law, there can be no NDA where there are S assault or R word or even sexual harassment allegations, because the legislature wants people who are victims of that to be able to sing it from the mountains, tell anyone, warn other people. So Gina is allegedly alive. Somebody said, is she alive? Oh, I don't know which one. Yeah, Cassie is due any day now. Bless her heart. Can the prosecutors use Gina's Tasha K interview? Okay, so the great question. The interview itself is hearsay. However, what they can do is get Gina on the stand. And if she gets to lying and saying something happened that, you know, she previously told the prosecutors such and such happened. And if she, let's say she gets on the stand and says, Diddy's never raised a hand to me. They can say, Your Honor, I have Exhibit A. This is a video, an interview that that Gina did with Tasha K on such and such. Gina, do you recall doing this video? She, yeah, we're going to play a clip for you. Gina, did you not just say here that he punched you in your face, kicked you in your stomach, threw you down some steps while you were pregnant because you wouldn't get an abortion? And she'd have to be like, yeah. So basically, it could absolutely come in to impeach her, but it can't come in just because it would be considered hearsay. NDAs don't protect crimes, right? It sure does. She doesn't have her children. No. Wait, who don't have her children? Gina ain't got her kids. Gina seemed like the type not have her kids. I hope she gets off those hardcore drugs and gets custody of her children instead of sticking up for. Well, part of Cassie's story is her claim is that Diddy caused her to become addicted to the drugs. Anika, I absolutely will. I'll probably do that tomorrow because this trial got me so lit I couldn't. I could not. So in the end, it is alleged. That's right. Fuji TV said that right. He is not on trial for DV. And the defense theme continues to remind people he's not here for domestic violence. He's not here for being a freak. And I think the more that the defense tries to couch this as though he clearly assaulted this woman and it was clearly DV, it could cause jurors to feel like, yes, he did something, but the options that the prosecution have given us are not consistent with the facts that they've given us. I think that the options the prosecution gave us are too extreme, and I don't feel comfortable giving him a life sentence for a domestic violence that on the state level would have been 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I could see jurors feeling that way because they want to be able to do what's right. When you see a video like Cassie's, you want to be able to administer justice. But the problem here is a lot of the more reasonable charges like assault, like DV, even the Mann Act, which we talked about earlier, the statute of limitations for those has already passed. So those aren't options. The jury can't consider that. It's really RICO because RICO allows them to bring in all of these things, assault, arson, kidnapping, that some of which otherwise the statute of limitations would have already passed, meaning when that passes, if you've not already been indicted before it passed, you can never, ever be charged with that crime. And here, all that main stuff, the time has lapsed. Remember when that video first came out, that hotel video, people were upset. People were calling the California District Attorney's Office because it happened in LA. They were calling the LA County DA's office to where the DA's office made a public statement and said, we watched the video like y'all. It is terrible. It is horrific. But unfortunately, the statute of limitations has passed. And when I saw that, I said, oh, the Fed's going to get his butt. I said that in my video. I said, oh, the Feds are going to get him. They're able because what happens frequently is when there is a extreme injustice like that is national coverage. Think of like some of the cases where people got off or cops got off for under state law for killing someone unarmed, right? Then what do the feds do? They say, we'll try, we'll pick it up. That's how I knew them charges was coming. What about defaced pow pows? Cassie stayed because she's nasty and loved it. Oh, that's one way to do it. What about the shooting victim? She could certainly be a witness. So there's a lot of witnesses that are going to be there. I want people to know just because they're not a victim 1 through 5 listed witness doesn't mean they're not going to be important and doesn't mean they're not going to give some juicy testimony. For me, who I really want to hear from, baby, Lori Ann Gibson. Lori Ann Gibson is on that witness list, honey. She going to be there. And if you don't recall, making of the band, Lori Ann Gibson was the choreographer on making of the band. And Diddy, he did it afterward on the show. Sometimes he talked to her crazy, but afterwards in life, he did that too. And she says he blackballed her. She's from Canada. She went back to Canada. She minds her business. She works and she does for herself there. But he treated her like a low down, dirty dog. And she is going to be on that test stand and she is going to talk about everything she saw. Cassie needs to be locked. Another one is, I'm not sure about this one, but I'm pretty sure Aubrey O'Day is going to get up on there. Yeah, there's a troll. Aubrey O'Day I think she's going to get up here. Do the feds say what ifs? What if Diddy kicks her in the temple? This baby wouldn't be here. It don't matter where he kicks her. It's all of the above. Kid Cudi. Oh yeah, Kid Cudi will be there. Kid Cudi, bless his heart, he has certain mental health issues. So you gotta be on his medication, or he gonna get up there and wow out, be talking about everything else. Y'all, Jaguar White was there. I would be surprised if they call her as a witness because she's loony fucking toony. I'm sorry. I know you guys love her. It's okay. You can love her, but you can also, 2 things can be true. She can say certain truths, and she can also be loony freaking toony. Both of them are true. What's his name? Little Rod was there today as well. No, I'm not there right now. I'm actually moving today. I had to handle my personal business. So, yes, Jaguar Wright was there. I think she's a little loony. She was there. I don't see them calling her because she's not credible. And I know you guys love her. You love her to pieces for those who do love her. She is not credible, and she will make the prosecutors look like damn fools. You get that woman up there and she starts telling you about the moon and the stars and the Illuminati, it's a wrap. It's over. It's over. Nadia Rubin or J-Lo. No, I believe J-Lo has probably left the country just to make sure she doesn't get subpoenaed. Because you can get subpoenaed any day, time of night. It's like being served. Typically, how long is a trial like this? It depends. This one's supposed to be 8 weeks. But typically, a federal trial, someone this wealthy, I don't know the total number of witnesses, but yeah, 8 weeks for this sounds about right. Yeah, she's out there. There are a bunch of snitches. They hung around Diddy for years and now they want to snitch. Free Diddy. All right. Well, put some money on his books, honey. Put some money on his books. So yeah, I don't know if Little Rod will be called, but on the list of victim 1 through 5, there doesn't appear to be a man in there. There's a former employee. There is the woman who had the ex-boyfriend. Basically, she was assaulted by him and his bodyguard on a pool table at the studio, Daddy's house. Or there was her, supposed to be Gina. There's a other woman that was a former employee, worked for him for a number of years. She's also suing him civilly. But we'll have to see about Little Rod, but he's not a named victim. I think with Little Rod, that may speak to the court. The coercion. The problem with Little Rod is the majority of his accusations were that Diddy exposed him to other people. Like, I think Terrence Howard was one. Other people who assaulted him, touched his bottom, touched his this, that, or third, exposed themselves. But he really didn't have that much on Diddy. They've got really strong evidence. Let me tell you this one part, too, before I got to go. Somebody said Roger Bonds is incredible either. Good evening, Attorney Symone. So will you meet up with Mims when you get to New York? I'm trying to. I sure would want to. Yeah, I don't know about Little Rod's credibility. I have never done a background check on him, but I know the feds always do. And so if there are things, and I would just, hey, he's in the music industry, so this isn't personal. If there's things in his background that they think Diddy's team will pull out to try and discredit him, which I fully believe that, they would, then they're not going to risk it. Young Miami is going to be a tough one. I think the defense would call Young Miami. I don't think the prosecutors, because she's going to rock with Diddy. But y'all, I'll say this. Beware. This Cassie video that was played in court today, that ain't the only video that's about to knock your socks off. There's more. There's more of other assaults on other women. And they are disgusting. They are disgusting. So he's going to have to use this little porn star, consensual, everybody's a freak theme across all these victims on all these videos, even in videos where women are crying and screaming and begging for him to stop. So with that note, see you guys tomorrow. I'll have another case update for you. I'm your legal bestie, Attorney Symone, and this was day 1 Diddy Breakdown. Oh, don't forget, go to my website, SimoneRedwine.com, sign up for the webinar. It's free this Wednesday night. It's called You're Never Too Old for Law School or something like that. I don't know. I'm tired. Also, you can head to my website if you'd like a consultation. They start at just $159 for 30 minutes. Have a great evening, y'all. Bye-bye.